This is Kerry Martell, editor for the Yamhill Advocate, and I'm sitting down with Ben Edtl, who is running for Oregon State Senate. Thanks for being on this recording.
Thanks for having me.
So, why are you running for state senate?
Look, I'm running for state senate because Oregon needs a change, a serious change. Look, what happened in 2020 was not just COVID, but the state legislature in Oregon, uh, the Democrats achieved a super majority, which means that they didn't need Republicans to show up to get a quorum and pass law. And that's, I think, the fundamental reason we've seen so many crazy, strange, bizarre, and absolutely deadly public policy coming out of Salem for the state of Oregon.
So, what would you do differently than your opponent who's currently running?
Hell, I'd do everything differently. I mean, anything that my opponent, I guess, I forget I have a primary opponent, but the real opponent here is Rob Wagner. He's the Democrat Senate Majority Leader, and he's the senator representing District 19, which is what I'm trying to do, is take his seat. I would do everything the opposite of Rob Wagner. I mean, Rob Wagner, and you're very familiar with this, what happened in Newburgh School District. You know, we all came together to fight in Newburgh to protect the voters' will, the Democratic will in the city of Newburgh for the school board candidates that aimed to change the direction of the Newburgh School District. And ultimately, as you know, the superintendent of the Newburgh School District was fired. Well, Rob Wagner supported House Bill 1521, which is the direct response to that, the statewide Democrat response, which was to pass House Bill 1521 and take away the democratic power of the voters in the district that pay for the school district. So, I mean, that's a terrible thing to do. These Democrats in Oregon, you know, their name itself is Democrat. That means they stand for democracy, right? They stand for sort of the majority rule, right? But that's the opposite of what Oregon Democrats are actually doing. They're out running around trying to reduce democracy everywhere they can.
So, you previously, before you got involved in politics, you own a business in Portland. You talked a little about that and what happened.
Yeah, I mean, we took over a bankrupt coffee roastery. Actually, it had, you know, somewhere in the ballpark of, you know, $250,000 to $300,000 in debt, and we didn't have the money to just, like, you know, pay the debt off and fix the business. I believe that we could turn that business around and over time, you know, make it work. And so, you know, I took the debt from the previous owner and ran with it. And by 2020, you know, we had been, you know, we started distribution of specialty coffee from Portland to Las Vegas. We ended up acquiring 3 cafes in 2020. And by that point, we were doing very, very well and really, you know, bringing that business back. And then when 2 weeks to flatten the curve hit, you know, it was all downhill from there. There was not enough, I mean, it was just an impossible environment in the city of Portland to do business. And of course, I wasn't a big fan of the signs that said you had to wear a mask, and I wasn't a big fan of not letting people sit inside of our coffee houses, our cafes. And so, you know, I had some employees that, you know, ultimately refused to wear masks, and I would walk in and out of my shops without wearing a mask. I wasn't putting one on. And, you know, ultimately, a lot of my staff came together and started to cancel me for that reason. A lot of my staff are in their 20s. They were baristas, and I'm sure they'll turn out to be great people, but they supported the BLM, they supported Antifa, and they supported the rioting and the lawlessness in downtown and actually played a part in it, and ultimately canceled me because it became very clear to them that, you know, I wanted no part of this stuff. So it was pretty crazy, man. We had BLM people calling our cafes, talking to staff and threatening to smash our windows and vandalize the business if we didn't put BLM signs up in our windows. And, you know, after that, I was on the fence with BLM at first because I wasn't sure, you know, who they were, what they were about. So I didn't want to put anything up because I didn't know who they were, what they were about. But I'll tell you what, they showed me what they were about and who they were, and I wanted nothing to do with that group.
So, it's my understanding that you're from Portland, you're from the area.
Yeah.
And what's your opinion as a Portlander of what's happened to the city of Portland and the surrounding cities as a result of the state level governance?
Look, I mean, it's not just state level. It's the metro area. So a lot of the state representatives in Oregon, as you know, are representing the most populated areas, which are Portland metro area, right? what's happening here and what's happening throughout our state, but especially in the heart of our state, the city of Portland and the surrounding areas, is that there's nothing short of a humanitarian crisis. When you go through Portland and downtown Portland, you're going to see people all over the place, homeless, laying out, passed out on the street corners, passed out on sidewalks, trash and crime. The murder rate is the highest it's ever been in the state of Oregon in history. And the people who are dying are the very same people that these radical leftists are claimed in the outset to protect, blacks. How can you say that Black Lives Matter, then create policies that drive the murder rate up 800+% year over year, and where 70% of the victims are black men under the age of 30? This is inexcusable. It's disgusting. It's outrageous. These people are completely out of their mind, and they're continually trying to save face with more and more of the same style of policies. And it has to stop. It has to end. People are dying. I had a meeting with the Willamette Week a few weeks ago. They actually compared me to Donald Trump and endorsed my primary opponent, believe it or not. But what I told them was that, within 24 hours of this very moment, within 2 to 3 blocks of where we sit right now, people will die with needles in their arms, outside, homeless, and in the street. And it is an absolute humanitarian crisis. And not even to mention crime and auto theft. There was a story that the Oregonian put out just a couple weeks ago that said that carjackings in Tigard and Tualatin were up 100% year over year. And of course that's what's going to happen. Portland's become a mecca for criminals. You don't get prosecuted. You can do hard drugs. There's no police. And there's no one to respond to violent crimes or property crimes. And so they're coming here from all over the country to take advantage of the situation, and it's absolutely disgusting.
What would you do about it?
I would do everything I can about it. I mean, the first thing that I would do about it is I would probably start repealing law after law, bill after bill. I think that's the first thing we can do in year one, is just repeal. Go to Salem and start breaking stuff. That's really the idea. It's going to take at least another year before any of my bills will be able to come to the floor. The first year of sessions in the state Senate for Oregon is going to be bills that were developed in 2022. So 2023, I'll be doing a lot of voting against stuff and maybe even voting for some stuff. But I think we can bring repeals to a number of things, especially 110, even though it was voted on by the people of Oregon. The truth of the matter is they were sold a bill of goods that didn't pan out. The big financiers around 110, which is the law that decriminalized hard drugs, were the Soros folks from New York. And people didn't realize that. It was pitched to us as it was going to be this great humanitarian thing. But what it's really done is created a humanitarian crisis. And I think the voters of Oregon know that. The voters of Portland know that. And so I think that's the first thing to go. I would also look to repeal 1521. I'd look to repeal House Bill 554. House Bill 554 is just the unlawful gun bill that was passed, despite thousands and thousands of public testimonies in opposition of 554. And so I would work very hard to restore Oregonians' gun rights, restore democracy and local control to school boards. And I'll tell you, my big dream is to abolish the Oregon Health Authority. The Oregon Health Authority was implemented in 2016. We haven't needed it for 100+ years. And all it does is pass laws, and the people behind the OHA shield are generally crooks, and no one there was elected, and they're passing laws on us. They're affecting our lives in significant ways. And the OHA cost Oregonians $29 billion. And I think it's time to just flush it down the drain where it belongs.
Powerful words, and sounds like you've got an action plan.
Oh, yeah.
Now, before you decided to run for the Senate, you started this group called Free Oregon. And just in disclosure to viewers of The Advocate, Free Oregon has advertised with the Advocate in the past. Could you tell us a little bit more about your group?
Yeah, Free Oregon, we love The Advocate. You're doing incredible work in Yamhill County, and I'll tell you, your work has turned the dial, and so is Free Oregon. Free Oregon's work is turning the dial in Oregon. We've built a group that has well over 20,000 activists surrounding it and as members. We've pushed very hard on the Oregon Health Authority for its mask mandates. We completely humiliated the OHA. My number one right hand, Angela Todd, who's our chief communications officer, she helped get 40,000 people to write into the Oregon Health Authority against the permanent mask mandate, and even got out of a lottery system, a lottery pick system to get verbal testimony. We got 6.5 hours where not one person testified in favor of the permanent mask mandate. In fact, the OHA had to kill its live YouTube feed because they were getting so embarrassed, and they should be embarrassed. It's an embarrassment, the OHA. So Free Oregon has really come together to bring people together. Our members, in fact, the Northwest Observer just today wrote an article about Free Oregon. We've had over $130,000 donated by Free Oregon members and supporters to file multiple lawsuits, at least a dozen, in federal and state court to government agencies and big businesses that are infringing on people's civil rights. We take it very seriously. Not one of our cases, not one case that we brought to court has failed.
So some of the more I regard as extremist activists here in Yamhill County, specifically the group Progressive Yamhill, which is a chapter of indivisible.org national group, they have characterized Free Oregon as a far right extremist group. What do you have to say to that accusation?
Yeah, we're an extreme moderate group. Almost 30% of our members are registered Democrats. I don't think you can have an extremist group where a third of the members are registered Democrats, a third are Republicans, and a third are not affiliated. It actually, if you look at our members by affiliation, we are an exact mirror of the state of Oregon's voter registration. So any group that says that we're an extremist is blatantly lying because they're terrified of what Free Oregon is doing to their agenda. We're destroying it. It's absolutely insane. There's been so much stuff said about me, and I'm new to politics. My rookie year was 2021, right? So, and I was still a citizen. And I'll tell you, I was shocked at the things people will say and do. Look, the state of Oregon didn't get here because of integrity, honesty, and truth, man. Both sides, Democrat Party and Republican Party, is rot full of corrupt people that are looking out for their own interests, and they're terrified when a civic group like Free Oregon rises up that represents the population of Oregon in every single way. We're asking for nothing more than medical freedom that the Oregon State Constitution grants us. We're asking for the right to defend ourselves. We're asking for proper public safety. We're even offering solutions to the safety issue, and the criminal issue, which is the real issue, is that public defenders don't have any money. They're going up against district attorneys in counties across our state where the public defender has 125 cases and the DA only has 10 or 12 cases. I mean, they get slaughtered. This is an economic issue. It's not a race issue or anything like that. So I think we have some real good solutions that we're bringing to the table that just make practical sense. Even it out in the courtroom. Don't just let the prisoners out of jail, the violent criminals. That's insanity. What you do is you level off the playing field where these cases are decided. And that's how you fix it. So, the Free Oregon platform is very similar to my platform. Obviously, I'm the founder of Free Oregon, so there's going to be some overlap there. But for the most part, what Free Oregon's really looking to do is it's looking to protect people's medical freedom, their privacy. We're looking to inspire more Oregonians to participate in the political process. As you can see from 2020, we haven't been doing that. There's more of us, meaning the people, than there are of them, the corrupt politicians. So we can come together, we can beat them in every single way if we're unified. And so that's what Free Oregon really is trying to do.
I'm sure you're no stranger to the reporting I've been doing about what's been going on with the schools here in Newberg.
Yeah.
But as many people know, Newberg is just a mirror of what's been going on in the schools, the public school system across Oregon. Is there anything that you would be able to do in the state Senate about how the Department of Education, is pushing its agenda. Because, I do say Department of Education in the state because the vice chair of the Board of Education, Guadalupe Martinez, she is a member of the local Newberg group here, and I've published her rantings comparing the United States, to an old car that should be, dropped off at a junkyard and replaced. So what could you do at the state Senate level to get the Department of Education under control?
Hell, that's one of the craziest analogies I've ever seen. In fact, the truth is, it's just the opposite, and every single Oregonian can open their eyes and see it for themselves. In 2019, we had practically a Mercedes compared to what we have right now. Right now, what we have is a jalopy that belches out backfires, makes loud, scary, terrifying noises, and lost its paint job, and its bumpers are falling off and leaving garbage across the road. That's what it looks like right now. Just anybody knows that when they go into Portland and looks around. So that analogy is absolutely out of touch with reality. And so, what I think we can do is, look, the Senate and the House have Republicans and Democrats alike. In some cases, the Republicans have voted for a lot of this stuff to give all this power to the Department of Education. The Department of Education should have very little power. And absolutely, at this point in time, has demonstrated that it shouldn't have any power at all. The power needs to be with the voters locally. And I'll tell you, you're exactly right. What's happening in Newberg is happening across the state, and the school districts across the state. But in Newberg, the anomaly is that the parents there are fiercely fighting back. And I think that's what makes it such a big deal, because it becomes national news, and then the state legislature has to bring bills like House Bill 1521 that takes away the democratic influence that the parents and taxpayers would have over their local school districts, because they know what's going on in Newberg is spreading. Parents are getting pissed. They're waking up. They're figuring it out, and they know that they can push back. And right now, the state has all the power in the world. A school board can no longer, this is House Bill 1521, a school board can no longer fire a superintendent. Only the state, the Department of Education can. So, look, I got to tell you, when the Department of Education dropped all of its graduation standards last year, it really got me thinking about the real necessity of the Oregon Department of Education. Like, do we even need that? And is that, if there's no graduation standards for the Oregon Department of Education to impose and to ensure that school districts are adhering to, then what is its purpose?
Before we finish out this interview, is there anything you'd like viewers of The Advocate to know?
Look, the Advocate is the most honest, most accurate local county newspaper that I've ever read and ever seen. And I think it's very important to support it. I certainly do support it. In fact, we did some business together when we were trying to inform the parents of the Newberg School District who was who and what was what and how did it happen. And that was a wonderful partnership. Information is key. That's why the federal government is coming out with their new Ministry of Truth, because information is beginning to be a very big thorn in their side. And so, if you want accurate, good information, you need to go to the Yamhill Advocate. I think it's very, very important. The other thing I'd just like to say too is you can find out more about our campaign at benedtl.com, benedtl.com, and you can learn more about Free Oregon at freeoregon.us. Look, we need money. If you want to see conservatives win, you got the Drazens of the world who are backed by the very same people of the Kotex. And these are big unions and big Pfizer, big medical companies, and big companies nationally that want to see the same candidate take the seat, no matter what party they wear on their chest. And people like me and others that are grassroots aren't getting the money, so we have to do it. And there's far more of us. If everybody in my district sent $10, by God, we would crush the competition. So that's what it takes. Go to benedtl.com and donate. Go to freeoregon.us and get involved in your political process.
Thanks so much, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, my friend.